Morning. I would like to call the Health and Human Services Committee to order. We cannot do a roll call at this moment because we don't have a quorum, but we're going to get started to hear the bills since we have aldermen that do have other meetings and we're pressed for time here. So, Carl, you are here to, Ms. Moore, Melba Moore is out of town, and so you're here to talk and speak on these bills. So you will join us.
Sure.
This is Carl Miller.
Filler.
Filler, sorry.
Yes. Sorry, and thank you.
Go ahead, have a seat.
Okay. So I'm with the mayor's office, but was.
But
with
we're going to take
department.
up Board Bill 220 right now, okay?
Which one? Okay. So this is asking you all to accept the receipt of the Byrne Criminal Justice Innovation Program grant to the Department of Health. This was a competitive application to the Department of Justice programs that would bring $1 million to the near north side. It's in conjunction with the redevelopment project, so it has to be in partnership with the choice planning, but it allows us to train our city staff on how to do crime prevention through environmental design, which is an approach used to reduce crime, violence, and has been successful in other communities, but hasn't yet been used here in St. Louis. I'm happy to answer any questions. The health department will engage in a year of planning, then 2 years of implementation. It's a project between the health department, urban strategies, the police department, and UMSL is the research partner with this.
Okay, and so I'm assuming from reading through this, you're going to be collecting data.
They will be collecting crime data, and UMSL, the first year is a planning, so they'll develop what they're actually be collecting. The community will be engaged the whole process, so they'll tell us what they want to collect, what they want to share, what they don't want to share, as well as the police saying what indicators from their standpoint matter.
And when you say community,
residents.
so you'll be holding public meetings?
That's what urban strategies, yeah, that's why we brought them on board, since they have the development through the Flants Early Learning Childhood Center and other community organizations, as well as some of their community liaisons will be talking to the residents of that neighborhood.
Okay, so a year of planning and a year of actual data and
yeah, 2 years of implementation, yes.
Okay. Are there any questions from the committee? Alderman Ortman?
No questions.
I apologize.
It's okay. Alderwoman Behringer?
Yeah, so let me get the, so I'm trying to understand this. So this is just money.
Yes.
It's going to be used to study, but we don't know what we're studying because we're planning what to study, to come up with ways to reduce crime. So is that what it is?
It's not a study, but federal grants now require us to have research partners in all grants. So the purpose of it is to develop employment programs, crime prevention through environmental design, as well as restorative justice programs for people returning to that community. So we have to have a research partner, so that's the least important piece from our end. It's just something that they require us to have. So that's only, I think, $40,000 over 3 years. The rest of the $1 million goes to actual implementation in city agencies.
So, I mean, what are we foreseeing this doing? I'm just trying to figure out what we're foreseeing the final outcome to be. Yeah, the final outcome, again, most of it will be derived from exactly what the community wants, but it'll have new employment programs, so folks that are returning to the community from prisons and jails, they'll have opportunity to have more robust training and employment opportunities. Restorative justice will allow those who have been harmed by offenders to get some restoration to them from those, as opposed to punishing people. It allows the victims to be at the center if they would like to. It allows them to give an opportunity to let them be in that process and say what the offender should be doing in terms of repairing harm to that community. And then finally, crime prevention through environmental design is cameras, fences, cutting down grass, chopping down trees for line of sight, and allowing the community to design what they want their community to look like in order to make it safer. So all of that comes out in that first year of planning, specifically what those pieces will be. But again, if they want, you know, signs and cleanup days and murals and you know, lights and cameras, we built in significant funds to allow them to do that. And these are all things that have worked in other communities. We have a lot of evidence and research to show that they're effective. It reduces recidivism, increases employment rates, and drives down crime. Oh yeah, I know. I mean, this. It's as simple as like cutting back the trees so that the lights can shine, putting in LED lights because the way they shine. Yeah.
Exactly.
At this time, can we just go ahead and take a roll call, and then that way we can continue on with questions. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes. Alderman Ortman.
Present.
Alderman Boyd, Alderman Williamson, Alderwoman Behringer.
Present.
Alderman Cone.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderman Arnowitz, Alderwoman Hubbard, Chairwoman Flowers.
Present.
5 present, you have a quorum.
Alderwoman, are you done with your questions?
Once it's decided how to move forward, this is just putting it together. But did you say the funds are or not there to actually implement what they come up with?
So we have to submit our implementation plan at the end of the planning phase. If the Department of Justice approves it, then they give us the extra $850,000 to actually make the changes.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
So they're giving you $150,000 startup.
Yeah, we're not allowed to access the rest of the $850 until they approve our implementation plan.
Okay. Alderman Cone?
So who wrote the grant?
I did.
And how was, I see near North Side, there's not a lot of specifics on this 2 pages here. Generally they have, the attachment with the grant itself in there, the application and whatnot. How is near North Side selected?
Yeah.
What is near North Side? What neighborhoods are near North Side?
Yeah.
How did all of that get determined?
So this grant is only eligible for, in conjunction with a redevelopment project, a significant redevelopment project like Choice Planning, which is the project in Carr Square and Columbus Square, which has been deemed the near north side. That's the project that Urban Strategies is pursuing with the Choice Planning grant that they received. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with that, but that's just north of downtown. It's a $500,000 planning grant, and then they're applying for a $30 million redevelopment grant. And that will be the space between the proposed NGA and the proposed stadium site. So that will help redevelop in that. Community members have been involved the whole way. But again, this grant can only be in conjunction with a major redevelopment project, which is why we chose the near north side.
What is defined as a major redevelopment project?
I would have to go back to look at the grant language, but we looked throughout the city and talking to the police, talking to our the city partners. That was the community in the neighborhoods, Carr Square and Columbus Square, which is I guess called Preservation Square in common lingo now. That was the only site that met this eligibility. Plus, we got bonus points for being a Promise Zone designation space, as well as being the Choice Planning space. So it's likely we only were able to get that grant because we got those extra points from being part of those other federal opportunities. So much of the city can benefit from this, and the training that we're bringing in for our city staff on crime prevention through environmental design will then be able to be used throughout the city. So once our staff are trained on how to do that process. Is
it actually city staff that's going to be trained on this, or is Urban Strategies going to be the partner that receives funds through the city's grant application that then gets the training and the benefit of it?
No, it's forestry, parks, building division, streets, because those are the folks who actually make the lights, the trees, that kind of changes. So they're the staff that will receive.
But that's on the implementation side, not the planning side.
There's some funds allowed during the planning phase because crime prevention through environmental design, the first process of that is engaging community members and training our staff.
But you just said that Urban Strategies is going to be doing the community outreach.
Yeah, community outreach. That's just getting people in the room, educating folks on what we're doing.
And the actual planning side, our planning department of 5 people is going to be...
No, our planning department's not a part of this project.
Okay, so... what city staff is going to be the recipient of the training dollars that's associated with this? Because it sounds as though Urban Strategies is the one that's doing most of the work.
The Department of Health will do the vast majority of the work in terms of coordination and planning, and then that will move.
They have planners in the health department?
I was the planner there. I'm not there anymore, but they're hiring my replacement.
So this grant is basically funding your replacement?
No, because I'm no longer there. They're currently reviewing application or job applications for my past position.
All right, I don't have any other questions.
And I can send you if you'd like to see the actual grant.
I would. I really would.
I think we would like to see the...
When is this? There's an emergency clause on this, by the way. So is this actually required to pass out today in order to receive funding and signed by the mayor in order to submit to the federal authorities to actually receive the grant?
Well, we can't list the new position, because this actually does allow one new position, which is a coordinator position, to help move this forward. We can't list that position until this has been approved. We can't start signing contracts with UMSL, Urban Strategies, or the consultant for crime prevention through environmental design until this gets approved. So that's why that's there.
I understand that, but from a time sensitivity perspective, what is the time frame that this needs to be passed out in order to adhere to the guidelines of the grant? I don't care what has to come after. I want to know, when is this due in order to satisfy the grant so that we don't lose money?
We haven't gotten any money yet, so until we get money, there's no issue from the Department of Justice. If you feel like you'd like to see the grant wait a week, I'm happy to do that. I don't think that will destroy this.
Yeah. So that would be my own personal preference. I mean, obviously, I'm only one member on the committee, but...
Yeah, I'd be happy to send that out. That'd be useful.
I mean, usually, like on transportation or commerce, we have contracts or lease agreements or whatever, grants. Even on public safety, we review the applications before we actually vote on them. So I would appreciate seeing it. I can't speak for the other members of the committee, though.
Alderman Cone, is that?
That's
all your questions?
End of my questions.
Okay. Alderwoman Howard.
Pardon me, I'm late. I'm Alderwoman Howard.
We just started a little bit before you came.
Well, and I just want to know, who are you?
Okay, I'm Carl Filler.
Yeah,
I'm Carl Filler. I'm full-time with the Health Department, currently with the Office of the Mayor. Since they haven't hired my replacement yet, they just asked.
And what is your position?
I'm a Director of Strategic Policy Initiatives. I took over some of Robin Wabi's duties, as well as some other opportunities around coordinating youth violence prevention activities in the city.
Okay. Okay, so this grant is going to fund return into society for people being released from prisons and just spiffing up the whole near north side, basically, and addressing crime. And how is this going to help the rest of the city, I guess, is what I have no pony in this,
Sure.
And I'm concerned. I have issues with crime in my area.
Mm-hmm.
It's popping up. I've got, a lot of issues with people being released from prison, moving into the neighborhood. There's a lot going on in the south side too.
Sure.
And we need help, and I just want to know, I think Shane was kind of getting at this. What is it going to do for me and my people?
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. I think maybe I didn't answer that well enough, but this trains city staff on techniques to reduce crime that we don't currently have the expertise to do, specifically crime prevention through environmental design. It also allows us to test opportunities, restorative justice, and employment that we don't currently have in place, so we don't know the best programs around employment. We have some employment programs, but we'd like to test some new ones. We're working with Slate on that, so their staff will gain benefit from this if we pursue those opportunities. Likewise, forestry and parks, street folks will understand how to use crime prevention through land design. So if your neighborhood...
So what would some of those, give me an example of what those strategies would be.
Yeah, so it has 9 different techniques. I'm not going to know them all because I'm not an expert in crime prevention, but through environmental design. But one of the major strategies is identifying how people currently use space, if it's positive or negative. If it's negative, then you go through a planning process to figure out how to reshape that space to make it a positive space as opposed to a negative space. And that's lights, that's cameras, that's cutting grass, line of sight for trees, signage, cleanup days, murals that are positive, things along those lines. And so right now, we don't have a process. We don't know how to actually do that in an intentional way. We just kind of look at it and we're like, oh, this looks like it's maybe good, maybe bad. But this is a formal process, a formal method that other cities have used with great success.
So we don't have templates from the Manchester development, Grove District, those kinds of areas. There's no templates.
No one in the city except for the Metro does it a little bit on their bus stops. If you've seen the benches that have the dividers, which allows people not to sleep on them, that's an element.
They haven't figured the trash out, have they?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a larger process that we haven't fully deployed here yet. So this will give us an opportunity to bring in trainers and train city staff on how to do this.
So, but this is the focus of this will be near north side.
The implementation funds have to be used on the near north side. So when we actually build things and change things, it has to be in that project area. Again, we could only do it in the context of
Okay, so tell me again, how does this transfer into the far south side?
So if you live in the far south side and want to do something like this, the city staff will now be trained on knowing how to do it before
Well, how do I get them to do it?
And who's going to coordinate it?
Yeah.
Well, that's why there's a coordinator of the Department of Health that's included in this. And that's, you'll be part of the planning process, so if that's a concern along the way, I would encourage you to bring that up with the planners.
And this staff position, what is the allocation for this staff position?
It's a project coordinator. Off the top of my head, I want to say that's like $40K a year plus benefits. I'd have to go back and look at civil service, but that's what my memory is. So that's a small piece of the grant. And I think the UMSL gets about $30K a year, Urban Strategy gets about $30K, and then the rest is just for city.
And I guess what my concern is, we're dumping a boatload of money up there anyway, and they're getting a lot, and we're kind of, the redheaded stepchild, to quote one of my
I don't
Excuse
know.
me?
Well, somebody that's up there, I don't consider that up there.
No, I mean,
I think she's thinking.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm just
that's
saying
not
in
up
relation-
there.
no.
Because trust me, there's no
No.
boat and there's no load up there.
right.
Maybe
Well,
right
and-
here, but not up there.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. The population in the area is sparse at this point, and I'm kind of wondering whether
I think
this is effective.
Were you here when he told us where this specific area was? I didn't know if you were here. When
Yeah,
he told us. Oh, okay, okay.
Preservation.
Well, here, can
Preservation
we do
is
this?
where
Can you go
Carly-
over the criteria again? So, I mean, to me, it sounds like this grant is specific to the development. We don't have another development that qualifies. And
Right.
I've always been brought up never to turn down money.
Exactly.
And if we can get our city employees trained in any way, my vote would be to pass this out, and then as we get the application, if there's a problem with it, get with Alderwoman Flowers. She can always put it on the informal calendar, you know, but $1 million, almost, you know, I just don't see
agree.
holding it up here.
It's kinda
I
jaggish,
just,
and-
you know, think the
But I
whole
want
city should
to,
be.
Carl, I want you to go over the
Yeah.
criteria again, so we're all straight. You know, that this can't go in the 9th Ward, you know, or the 11th Ward, or it can't go to South because we
Right.
don't qualify with
For
a
the-
development.
Yeah, and I think I used the wrong word. It was neighborhood revitalization is the better word. So there needs to be neighborhood revitalization plan and project in place, undergone. And so that's the only place right now, to our knowledge in the city, is on the near north side neighborhood with the HUD. Again, it had to be in conjunction with federal grants to get extra points, and there was 2 between promise zone and choice planning. And kind of to what the alderman was saying, you know, we're not expending any funds in this. This is just $1 million.
And I
help
guess
us.
one other question, if NGA doesn't come, does that negate this whole?
NGA is entirely separate. This is a choice planning grant through HUD. NGA is entirely different project. which
Well,
we're-
I'm thinking that's the grant, the redevelopment plan we're tagging this with.
No, it's through the HUD choice planning grant.
Oh,
That's
okay.
entirely different. Yeah,
Okay.
that is to urban strategies, but this grant.
Here's my concern. So even from a south side perspective, you know, we do have larger scale developments that are taking place in low mod income neighborhoods with high concentrations of crime. From a north side, like if you're saying that this has to be in a promise zone because we get extra points for being in a promise zone, we have major developments that are taking place in North St. Louis that aren't in the near north side, that are in higher crime areas than what this area is. So when you look at a map of crime density in North St. Louis, Preservation Square does not show up there.
Oh, it does.
So
It does.
not as much as a Penrose, College Hill, you know, Walnut Park, you know, etc. Like those are higher density areas of crime with higher populations as well.
And what's the
with
major
the exception
project?
of
What's the
College
major
Hill.
project you're looking
And those are all in
Alderman?
promise. Those are all in promise
So we
zones
don't
as
have
well.
the neighborhood
Well, Arlington
revitalization
Grove.
project.
Arlington Grove.
But there's
is
no
you know,
redevelopment project.
Arlington Grove.
Right. He just went down with the criteria.
Yeah, but Arlington Grove is a multi-million-dollar project that's happening on
I got
MLK
you.
in a promise zone. You
But
know, and a
you have to
very high
apply for
crime
these
area.
funds, correct? I've applied for these
Yeah.
for federal funds. I've gotten them and I've lost them.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just like you got funds
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
in your ward that I thought was deserving in mine.
Mhm.
It doesn't always work that way, where you think, you know, well, this needs it more. Not. You have to do the work. You got to do the grant. You got to do, you know, you got to do the things that come with it. I missed it that time, but I know I'm gonna follow you
So, I mean,
the
that's
next time.
like whose ward is this?
I think that's.
It sounds like it's the 5th.
I'm thinking it's
Yeah.
the 5th as well.
I think it is.
And we know that Alderwoman Griffin did a lot
Oh,
over there as
absolutely.
far as redevelopment. So I can kind of see where they're way ahead of a lot of us. You know, I have an area that's called near North Riverfront, which is up near Riverview and 270. When you say near North, you know,
There's a lot.
I could take you all
Near
over the
what?
place.
Yeah.
But you know, we have to say that these folks did the grant writing, and if it's something that we will learn, our staff will learn to implement elsewhere, because I'm interested in that. You know, we'll see. But I'm kind of with Alderman Ortman. 999. I mean, this is a lot of money to say no to. But as a chairperson, you know, I'm gonna give you the choice. If you cannot vote it out today, we will ask for the information you're looking for. If we vote it out today and we ask for the information and there's some questions, I will put it on the informal calendar. There's some things that I would like to see too. I would like to see a map of the area.
Yeah.
And I would like to see the grant itself as well.
I just want to be clear, like I would vote for it However, I would like to have the time to get the information before voting on it. I mean, the grant
absolutely.
application itself, a map of the area, and also specifically what city employees are going to be the benefit of the training aside from the position that's being hired within the health department.
And that, yeah,
Is this going to be, I mean, you're talking about forestry and streets. Those departments hire a lot of seasonal people. They don't come, they don't stick with us throughout the year.
So we wouldn't be training seasonal people. We'd be training supervisors and managers because they'd be the ones.
But I want a list of who is being
and that's
trained.
what that year of planning needs to do, because we need to identify who in those departments are the most appropriate individuals to receive that training. I work in the health department. I don't know anything about the streets department, or I used to work in the health department. So it's not my place to say, oh, Bob over there. I need to talk to the managers and the commissioner and the director and find out who, from their perspective, is the most important person in that space.
Okay.
And so we'll identify those.
If not specifically identifying which employees, and not by name, but mostly by level or title and purpose and function, but which departments are participating in it. I mean, we've talked about a couple of them, but I'm kind of a little bit disappointed that this seems to be a planning function, and our planning department doesn't seem to be included in it.
They were included in the grant writing process, but they didn't feel that they had a role to play in it themselves because they're not actually going out there planning streets or anything like that.
Well, I
think that would be good if they were.
Right.
We can reach out to Don and include it.
Okay, let's do this. Alderman, if you could give me the things that you're requesting, I'll make sure that we get them. But I know that Alderwoman Behringer has to go, so we need to get some sort of vote out here, or we're gonna lose a quorum again. Correct?
Yeah, I can stay till 11:30.
Okay, very good. So if you would just let me know the things you need, because I know we had a health committee meeting last week and we got the information right away, and so I don't think it's any reason why you shouldn't be forthcoming. So I'm going to make a recommendation to pass Board Bill 220 out of committee with a due pass recommendation pending information.
Second.
Request. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Alderman Ortman.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd. Alderman Williamson. Alderwoman Behringer.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderman Arnowitz. Alderwoman Hubbard. Chairwoman Flowers.
Aye.
5 aye votes do pass.
So I just need to get exactly, you want to make sure which departments are at the table and being trained.
And a copy of the grant application.
And a copy of the grant application.
Can we all get that
Which could
information?
change.
absolutely.
Which could change per
After
the study.
the planning,
Right.
right,
Yes.
after the
Right.
planning study.
So
Okay.
if I can send that to you, or should I send it out to the whole group?
Yeah, send it to me via email, but CC all the members of the committee, even those that are not here.
I mean, the one department that should be key in this entire thing wasn't even mentioned. The neighborhood improvement specialist, this is part of their job.
Yeah.
The Department of Public Safety is part of it. They wrote a letter of support and have been involved, and they're over that department as well as others. So they've been, Charlene Deacon and her team have been involved, as well as Rich Gray.
Okay, so are you also handling 221?
I can give my best shot if you want.
Okay, well, at this time, let's hear Board Bill 221. Mr. Filler.
So as you all know, last year in 2014, Ebola was a major concern internationally, and during that process we learned that our sort of network of emergency response needed to be sort of supported a little bit more intentionally. So my understanding of this grant, and I was not involved with this, but this would be an opportunity for the regional local public health agencies, as well as clinical sites, which are hospitals and others, to coordinate better to prepare for Ebola, as well as other public health threats. So I think it's more of a planning and training opportunity.
We did something similar to this last year during the outbreak, and in training it was kind of an emergency response, but I do remember us talking about the Ebola training with the hospitals and so forth and coordination. So this is $139,111 $14 grant to I guess continue that training and education. Are there any questions of the committee? Alderman Ortman?
No questions.
Alderwoman Behringer?
I just, I know, I feel bad because it's not your bill, is it?
Right.
Whose bill is this and why aren't they here?
Director Moore just couldn't be in town
Yeah.
today, unfortunately, and so she asked if I could step in for the Byrne grant, and I guess I didn't know if anyone else was involved for this one. But.
And Patrick
Okay.
Brown was working with me in this, and apparently he couldn't be here either
Okay.
at last moment.
I just didn't know if we've already set something similar up like this, so that all these entities that are involved already have a process and procedure in place, and we're just adding something to it, or if we're going to have to set up a program and they're going to have to comply. And I just didn't know if everyone's on board, and so we can do that. I think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great idea. I just want to make sure it's.
No, this training and so forth was implemented when the Ebola breakout happened. And they went around to each hospital and care providers, healthcare providers, and they did some sort of training. So this is not the beginning. This is probably a continuation.
But it sounds like we're trying to set up a process so that we all talk to each other.
Yes.
That's what I was seeing here. I just didn't know if that's already set up for other purposes.
And that's why, Melba would have been perfect for this because she gave us such good information the last time, and there's no way I can interpret that. So.
Yeah. So that's all.
But I can get that information for you.
No. I think it's a great idea. I just really would have liked to have known more about it. That's all.
Right.
At least we get paid for it this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think even it was near this amount of money last time either. Does that complete your questions? Alderman Cone?
No questions.
Alderwoman Howard?
No questions.
Okay.
I make a motion that we
Pass.
Passport
recommend
bill.
this to Passport Bill 221.
Second.
Previous roll.
No objection. Any objections to previous roll?
Nope.
With no objections, Board Bill 221 passes out due pass recommendation. Thank you, and I will
Thank
make
you.
sure that you get the information that you're looking for, okay?
Thanks.
Good question.